Welcome to the Lost and Found podcast. I'm your host, Amanda. Join me each week as I rediscover my life's meaning, my passions, and my place in this world after leaving behind the only dream I've ever known. If you are dealing with self-loss, identity changes, career transitions, or you are still trying to figure out your life's purpose, then you're not alone. Join me. Wanderers are always welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Lost and Found podcast. So glad to have you here. Today, we have a brand new guest episode, and I'm so excited to introduce you to them. We have brought Jason Catron here to the show, and he is a singer, performer, internationally recognized vocal coach who has been in the performing and singing industries and music industry since he was 2 years old. And I'm so excited to bring him here to learn all about his ability to help his clients and his community and his listeners of his podcast access their authentic voice and live and perform in an authentic way that is true to them. Everybody, please welcome Jason Catron.
Hey, thank you. You know, what's amazing hearing that is like I'm only 12 now, so it's like I think I've not been doing it that long.
Yeah. It's super exciting. Again, kind of like I was teasing you before we started, that I was very surprised that somebody could say that, yeah, the very first time I ever got paid to sing was when I was 2. It's kind of like, wow. You think about like all the Olympics and things that have been going on and all the famous people that have to start so young to become so elite. So I'm an honor to have you here. So this is so cool.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this podcast.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, since we did kind of tease that for everyone, tell me a little bit about your early life. You've been doing this pretty much your entire career, since you could walk, basically. So tell me a bit more about what it felt like to start building your identity so young around being a singer.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was quite complicated in some ways. Didn't realize it because I was so young. But to the point, just to give a little more clarity there, yeah, I was 2. Somehow my mom would sing to me when I was a baby. And obviously, I guess I started mimicking some things as I started to be able to form words. And so, yeah, my first song was at 2 at our little church in Kentucky. And a lady came up to me. I always like to tell the story. A lady came up to me afterwards. I think she was the church pianist and gave me $1. And so I was hooked ever since that. You know, it was like, oh, I can get paid to do this. But yeah, so I just started singing. And of course, at that time, you know, I was a little kid, so it was real cute. But around, you know, as I started to really get a little more developed as a little child, my parents got me into voice lessons around 7. And, you know, I was one of those little kids. It was obviously a natural gift, which is obviously in its own way special and thankful for that. But even that can bring a lot of challenges because people tell you how great you are, you know, as a little kid. And I had a very mature voice, so I sounded like a little man at 7 and 8.
Right.
I can still remember this day. I was a young kid and I was singing. My dad was a politician. He was the mayor of our town for 28 years. I sang for the governor one time at a state park, and I was like 8, I think, 8 or 9-ish. And my dad's cousins were in a country band called Leather and Lace, which was kind of weird to have little kids singing in front of Leather and Lace, right? Yeah, you know, but we didn't talk about any of that. I didn't know.
Optics are different now.
Yeah, exactly.
But back then, everybody loved it.
Yeah. And so I remember the governor was there and was shocked to learn that was an 8-year-old kid singing because I sounded like an adult.
Sure.
You know? And so, yeah, all of that started to develop within me some, I think, some deep levels of confidence in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But there were also a lot of insecurities because I'm human and had to move through that process. But I think it was probably started to get a little complicated because, again, my dad was a politician.
Yeah.
And so I felt pressure of being a good kid, and I was a good kid.
Yeah.
And, you know, combine that with growing up singing in my church, you know, the social pressures of that at times, and literally just kind of trying to figure out confidence and insecurity connected to a gift that I had and everyone tell me how good I am as a singer.
Sure.
You know, and so there were a lot of areas for me to, let's say, develop false sense of securities because the stage became a playground. Off the stage, it was, so I guess what I'm really trying to say is I learned to be a performer really early on, both on stage and off stage, you know, and thankful to this day for it, obviously, because it's brought me to where I am today. But the early days were, like all of us, they're tricky and interesting. Mine just happened to be, you know, in front of a lot of people usually.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure it taught you a lot maybe not in the moment that you realized, but a lot about how to be yourself or not yourself in certain situations if you had to be a little more fluid depending on who made the request for your song or who was the audience member that you were singing for. Was there ever a moment where you felt like you could sing the songs that you wanted to sing, or do you feel like because you grew up in the church you had to sing more Christian related songs, or could you expand in any other genre or do other things?
Yeah, my parents were super supportive of, whatever I wanted to do. So thankful for that. My vocal coaches, I had a few over, the early days, and they had me doing like a lot of musical theater. Later, when I became a teenager and stuff, they kind of introduced me to opera, and I could do that. And so I think for me, to your question, what was really challenging and hard, which really started to like push me into figuring out who I really am and who I want to be and what I want to say and how I want to say it, was that I call myself, have another good friend here in town. Her name's Vanessa Campagna, amazing singer. And she grew up in Pennsylvania, small town Pennsylvania, but it was close to Pittsburgh. And so she early on, like a small kid too, was singing with symphonies and orchestras. And Marvin Hamlish, an amazing composer, one of the greatest of all time, found her as a little kid. And so I call her and I quarter kids because we could do almost anything vocally, because we were just naturally gifted in singing. So it was like, put a corner in her back and just tell us what to do and we'll put on a show, So again, that's fun. It's really fun for the adults.
Yeah.
But what happens when a lot of times with kids who excel at something like singing, because it's so difficult and mysterious, the voice doesn't have nerve endings. So we can't really feel the voice. So it's a completely abstract art form. Like, what is your voice? You can't feel it right now.
Sure.
You can't touch it. You can't see it.
No.
We can hear it, but that can lead us into many different,
Thought about it like that before. Yeah. Is that why it sounds so weird to hear yourself back
100%.
in a recording?
Yeah.
I think I sound a certain way when I'm talking right now, and then I'll get the feedback from the podcast, and I'm like, is that really me?
No, yeah, totally. And that takes a little time for you to bring what you have always heard for so long to what you actually hear recorded. Eventually, those kind of come in line together where it doesn't shock you anymore. It's like, oh, that is what I sound like.
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah, but at first we hear a little different than what's what we think it's actually like. And so, yeah, I mean, that's part of it. The voice is also one of the only things, I think it might be the only thing that we do, especially in a performative kind of way, that's directly connected to our psyche. So, if I'm a guitar player, I can put the guitar down and I can go be a dad or be a banker or whatever else at the same time. But a singer or a speaker or just a human, our voice is always with us. And that's why it gets tricky as we start to become developed and our brains develop and we become self-aware. All the problems start to come in and the insecurities. And so, for me, back to your question, it was really a process of who am I really as a singer? I can sing and I know I'm a singer. I know I can perform. I'm a performer. But I grew up as the quarter kid always singing other people's songs, right? And that was like musical theater again in church. Right. And so I didn't feel as a kid and teenager, I was really insecure about songwriting. I mean, really wasn't honestly exposed to it. So it wasn't a natural progression to like, I want to write songs. And again, I just had people sing this and sing that and sing that. And even at that time, I mean, it was normal for great singers to sing other people's songs. That's really,
of course. And it still is.
It still is, yes. But, in like, again, you take the 90s with Mariah and Whitney and Celine and all those people. I mean, these great voices, powerhouse vocals that I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're all amazing. They're singing other people's songs. So it didn't even really hit me that, oh, you should do songwriting too. So, for me, that process really was, who do I want to be as an artist and a performer? And what do I want to say and how do I want to say it? And that for me was a little longer process than I think maybe a lot of artists, because as I said, I just was singing everybody else's stuff and I loved it.
Was there ever a moment, you've mentioned a couple of times, just various moments where you've had insecurities with developing your own voice or becoming a singer through that process as a young kid, but was there ever a moment in your career where you're kind of thinking, I like doing this, but I don't know if I can make it my life? Or did you ever
just performing in general?
Right. Yeah. Were you ever worried like, okay, like I really like this, but is singing my path? Is being a performer my true path? Or should I have been a scientist? Should I have done these certain other?
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. I think every creative goes through that, and especially artists, singers. On one hand, it's the universe challenging us to greatness, because I fully believe that a person using their human voice, especially with music attached to it, is one of the greatest things on the planet. To me, it's the same thing as like we're in front of the Grand Tetons and we're like, wow, how does
it takes your breath away.
Takes your breath away, right? Yeah. And so that's what happens when someone uses their voice. I think it's also the same reason why we can live near the ocean, live in California for 9 years. I love the ocean.
Yeah.
And I didn't go all the time, though. I took it for granted. And we all do that with our own voices. We do that with music. You know, music is one of the only commodities that I say we sell for free. And everyone just expects free music today. It's like, you want me to go spend $100,000 on a record, but you get it for free to stream it.
Mm-hmm. Well, on Apple or Spotify.
That's crazy, right?
Why would I go get the CD or the
tape? So it's you know, those are very complex ideas that I just threw in there. But you know, I think every artist, me personally or included, had to go through this process of, is this what I really want to do? Is this what I'm meant to do? And again, I can still remember the struggle and the pain, especially because, as I said, I was an artist still trying to figure out, who am I as an artist? I've always sang all these other people's songs. Yeah. And so in college, I started at a school in Kentucky and thought I was going to be a dermatologist. Yeah. So random. Just as a kid, I kind of had interest in like doctors, and my sister is older than me and she's a dentist, and she was like, oh, you should go into dentistry. I knew I didn't kind of want to do teeth, but to me it sounded fun. Like dermatologists, they kind of got it made. You can go into plastic surgery if you want. You don't work weekends. You're not on call. You make great money. Yeah. Seemed like a good gig, you know.
And everybody has skin, so you're not guaranteed revenue there.
So, you know, I started that process, and then first semester organic chemistry, sophomore year, I remember my great uncle had passed away, and I was relatively close to them. And I went in and sat down with my organic professor, and I said, hey, my great uncle's passed away. I'm going to go to the funeral. There was a test that day that it was scheduled for. And he looked me square in the eyes and said, do you want to be a doctor or do you want to go to a funeral? And I was like, excuse me? He's like, you can not miss any tests in this class, and there are no makeups. So this is your moment to make the decision if you want to be a doctor or if you want to go to your great uncle's funeral. And I just looked at him and said, I'm going to go to the funeral. And I'm glad I did. Obviously, that was a pivotal moment that kind of pushed me into where I am today. That was in some way forced upon me, because I probably would have kept going, because in my mind at that time I thought, oh, I'll be a dermatologist and then I can sing on the side. Right. Or if singing doesn't work, I'll have this to fall back on. But like, that's kind of crazy, because to be a dermatologist takes your life.
To go to medical school.
Yeah, to go to medical school, you got to really commit. So it was a moment for me to be super channeled in to make a decision on what you want to do. So yeah, so I got went into accounting after that randomly. I was just good at my business classes, and so I was like, got to get a degree. I'm in college.
I'm already here.
Yeah. And so I ended up transferring to Belmont after that for music business.
Yes.
My dad had seen. Yeah, it's amazing, and that really was another great moment in my life. And my dad had seen an article in a newspaper where Trisha Yearwood had gone to Belmont. And he's like, hey, I think we should go check this out. This could be, because my parents knew I wasn't happy. I was struggling and, you know, trying to figure out how to make sense of this. So I came, visited Belmont, and I was like, this is where I need to be. And then that set me on the path, you know, clearly to doing all things music.
Yeah. And I'm sure that degree has been very helpful as you've started your own businesses too, like through their podcasting and then through the vocal coach stuff too, and networking, I'm sure, because if you still are friends with anybody from those college days, they've all expanded into other opportunities. Tap into that when you're in Nashville.
Yeah, that's been one of the fun things, is to see friends that I went to school with also kind of rise up in the business. I tell everyone I work with today, or just casually even talk to about something like this, that the music business is the long game forever. And a lot of people think it's like, get a record deal, get signed quick, blow up, you know, and that does happen for a lot of young artists. But the majority of people in music and entertainment in general, podcasting alone, you know, it is a long game. And the longer you're committed to it and the more people you network and meet, the greater, and craft your talent too, I really believe in that, the greater your chances are to be successful in this business. And so, Yeah, Belmont was great for that. It gave me some good, solid business, information, I guess you could say. And the network was amazing. And thankfully, growing up with the dad as a politician, I was really good at networking. And
lots of practice,
still am
sure.
today. That's one of my main. I consider networking performing itself. A lot of people just don't like it, or they get really nervous when they have to go into a room and meet people, or just be in a room with a lot of people. And I like to see it as a challenge and a game, and a performance, and just have fun with it, because it's fun to meet new people and hear their stories,
right?
And take the pressure off yourself and just go have fun.
Yeah, at a minimum, you met interesting people, and if not, then you realize, okay, I don't need to go back to that event
or talk to that person again.
Yes, yeah. If they've never met you before, they'll never see you again.
Exactly.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's the hardest part about kind of, we were talking a little bit before why you want to reach out to certain younger generations is to help them realize that nobody cares as much as you care about yourself. Nobody's paying attention to you. Everybody's dealing with their own stuff. And that was one of the things I learned about in my own public speaking classes in college. And I studied intelligence and security studies. So one of our classes was like a briefing class. You had to pretend the professor was ahead of a certain agency or something like that. And they gave you an assignment. And then the night before, you'd have to come back in and be able to brief it quickly and retain all the information. And you had to have a certain level of attention, and they would interrupt you and ask questions and practice like trying to throw you off. And you had to have the ability to pick it back up.
Yeah.
Horribly difficult. The first one I ever did, I thought I was going to throw up. Like, I was so nervous. But then when they gave you the feedback at the end, they were like, we were so impressed. You remembered all the information. You did a great job. And I was like, really? Because I thought I blacked out. But the truth was, they weren't looking at the zit on my face. They weren't thinking about me stuttering. They were trying to figure out, can she deliver what we've asked her to deliver? And the answer was yes. And so, like, I guess trying to flip the switch on you worrying so much about what other people think of you is like one of the hardest obstacles to get over first. Because as soon as you don't care, you can be yourself. You're way more relaxed. People are attracted to that kind of vibe, and they remember you better, right?
Yeah.
Because they're kind of like, oh, Jason, he's that guy that told me this story, or he's that guy that he introduced me to this other person. I have an opportunity for him. I really think he'd be a good fit. And they come back and they call you because of how you made them feel, not necessarily what you wore, what you look like, or any of that.
Exactly. And, someone told me not long ago that that the energy of our person and our heart beat, I think it was like it projects 5 feet in front of us.
Yes.
So when you walk into a room, it's why you can sense someone's energy, especially like pets can do that, right?
Yes.
Dogs, especially, or horses, they're very in tune with a person's energy. And so, what we're saying here really is no matter where you are on your path or your chart or demographic or age group, anything, it really is this process of finding a way for you to understand the depths of your humanity and accept it.
Sure.
And then just find a way to step into your confidence and communicate well and love people well and just be yourself. And it's amazing when you start to do that. You've experienced it. I've experienced it. We've also experienced the other side of it, But it's amazing how, again, just the flows of energy and the universe itself brings together things that sometimes can seem happenstantial or wow, I can't believe that happened. But it really was a moment that was supposed to happen and align for you and for that other person so that, again, something great can happen. And I think we're all on a path of greatness if we allow ourselves to trust that and just step into it and not be intimidated by even hearing someone like me say the word greatness, because I think great things happen every day, whether I want to be a part of it or not, because there are people who do. And even outside of that, I think the world has to keep spinning and I'm not controlling it.
No.
Right. So I can either be a part of the good parts of what's happening in the world, or I can be part of the negative and the bad. And I'm choosing personally to be part of the great and the good, and to help people, again, be confident and secure and communicate well and love well. Because that, to me, especially if you cover that with music, you can change the world.
Well, and I know that I'm sure you talk about this with your clients too, like, and kind of like what you said earlier, when you have that moment with music, there's certain songs that evoke certain memories, and there's certain songs that evoke certain emotions when you feel them and listen to them. And that I really, not that my listeners don't already know this, but I really enjoy like reggaeton and Spanish rap.
Cool.
Super into, I did some Latin American studies as well in school, but even though I don't understand things that are being said all the time, you can hear the emotion that's put behind the music, and it can evoke a memory or things like that for you and stuff. And so I appreciate the fact that you are trying to pull the creativity and connect your clients to that, because if they can live in that creative flow, that's where they're going to make that connection to someone. And they may not even be able to visualize who that song is for right now, but if you can point yourself in that direction, I totally think that that's what makes an epic song, is because you're writing it for the person that you're trying to connect with in that moment.
Well, yeah. And think about how interesting and fascinating it becomes when you as an artist step into your space of honesty and authenticity and vulnerability and allow yourself to write in that space. If you write, to allow yourself to record in that space and allow yourself to perform in that space, that's when a song can land. You know, anyone in music will tell you that, especially in today's space, I can take an artist that's just okay as a singer, and we can go in the studio and we can make a song really happen.
Sure.
You know, it can be great. There's a lot of tools of the trade now, but there's one button that still does not exist, and it never will. And that's the button of emotion. And it's one of the big debates right now with AI and music and all that. And so it is the magical quotient of music itself when a song can be written 100 years ago and it can still move people today and speak to each of us individually and uniquely. That's the power of music. And that's why I personally believe it is the greatest art form on planet Earth. And I say that confidently because without music, we wouldn't have birds chirping, cats wouldn't meow, dogs wouldn't bark, humans wouldn't cry.
Yeah.
That is the sound of the human. We just grow up and develop minds and we can talk and make sense of it in this way. But it starts with the cry. And that is music. And without it, it would be a silent world. Can you imagine? It'd be horrible.
Yeah.
You know, and no shade to like any of my actor friends out there or comedians or anything else, but we don't spend our days watching actors we don't go to restaurants and there's, you know, performers in front of us.
Right.
There's always music.
But even individuals that happen to be deaf, they can feel the sound waves. And
Yes.
so like that vibration still gives them a sensation of an emotion in some way.
It
And they can even
completely
still
does.
interact that way. But
Yes.
total silence, I can't even imagine.
Can't imagine, right?
No.
And so this concept of emotion and how it connects us and it moves us, you know, and of course there are many variables. That's like, I've always been really fascinated, especially a few friends that are deep in the art world. There have been a few times I've seen paintings and it's just like really moved me, but it's not normal. But I have a few friends that just like, you know, they can stand in front of many paintings and feel so many things and be, you know, it's a little more complicated in my mind, but actually certain forms of music are that way for people. A lot of people don't get jazz, but you know, but jazz is one of the most emotional forms of music of all, and it's also very free. That's a great jazz players. You know, they free flow up there, and that blows my mind. I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah, almost like improv for musicians.
Totally, and in all honesty, most of the music I listen to is classical and jazz.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because it's I feel and I move, and I don't have to be focused on words most of the time. Sometimes you do, obviously, but it's also complex. And so I think I spend a lot of my days working in commercial music now, so it's something different that I can still enjoy the art form, but it's just not what I spend my days working in, you know? So,
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think I ever answered this question a minute ago, but through that process of trying to figure out who I am as an artist and a performer, it was interesting because I still today am more confident than I've ever been in who I am as an artist. I spent 10 years traveling with a group around the world called Tenore, and we were 3 tenors. We were based out of Victoria, British Columbia, and our founder had put a group together called The Tenors, and so we were her second group, and before that I was just doing my own music, and so I joined that group in around 2010 and traveled with them till 2018, and it was some of the most amazing times of my life because just playing these amazing halls, but the music, and again, it was all other people's songs. We never wrote one song together as a group. And so through that process, and even before leading up to that, trying to really find my identity as an artist, I realized that, no, I am an interpreter of the great songbooks, be that the American songbook, the country songbook. I could take any songbook, but that's what I grew up doing. I found my confidence in it. And eventually I found my personal artistic identity in that. And I had a friend one time, big Broadway guy, and we were doing a workshop together in Phoenix, and we were in the pool, and I was telling him about some new stuff. I'd started this new record, or was getting ready to, where I take the country song book and give it big band style. So
new life.
Yeah, new life, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, you know what? Your thing is actually, and it's everything you do. It's not just your music. He's like, you take the old and make it new. And when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I do.
That's what I've been.
And that's what I've been trying to figure out.
It clicks,
you know, it's another little light bulb that went off, you know? And so to all my artist friends out there, regardless of what you're doing, your beginnings help identify the path you're starting on. But as you're really trying to find your thing, it can be someone else's art form that you bring into your own realm and reality.
Right.
Or it can be something you create on your own. And again, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about music, that it always can find new life.
Yeah. And I like that you're giving distinction to both, but credit to both too. Because I know sometimes some people might be like, well, am I really an artist because I'm just repeating what people have already done? Or can I only be a true artist if I'm making creativities directly from me?
Yes.
But there are two paths in the industry. You can be successful in both, and you can be proud of both as well.
100%.
Like, you shouldn't disregard yourself if you are covering other things that have been done, but you can always, like you said, in what you do now, you can put a twist on the original.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? I think that's what you're talking about is a little connected to the ego, I think, of the artist. And I think it's really easy for an artist who's writing their own stuff and making records and doing their thing to maybe look down. And I've done this. I don't know if I want to say look down, but to look differently upon I'm on vacation in Florida and I go to the Florida Fish House at 30A and there's a guy up there with a guitar singing and he's singing other people's songs. And it would be easy for me to look at that person and be like, I wonder what their story is. Did they not make it? Or, you know, gosh, I feel bad for them if that's all they get to do.
Sure.
Let me tell you something real quick. 3 years ago, I got invited to play at this private members yacht club in the Bahamas for Christmas. And I thought it was going to be, I'm going to go and do my Christmas show. It's going to be amazing. And well, no, it wasn't that at all. Okay. I did an hour show of what I wanted to do, but I did 3 shows, 2 at the restaurant and 1 at the beach bar. I'd never done that in my life.
Wow. So you became the guy.
I became the guy. And I took one of my piano players with me. And I don't know that I've ever been more nervous or uncomfortable. It wasn't really a nervousness. It was a very awkward uncomfortability. Because one, I couldn't perform. I'm a performer because it was not about performance. It was about setting a mood and complimenting the dinner and the space and the moment that people were paying money to be at. They weren't there to see a show. They're there to just
be and drink and have fun.
I'd never done that in my life. And it was so complicated and hard for me to put my brain around that. And even for me to figure out how to sing those songs differently so it wasn't this performance. And I walked away from that with a huge respect for any artist. Now I go down on Broadway and I have mad respect.
Oh, for the guys, men and women that are down there, the teenagers that are down there.
Oh my gosh. I've always had respect for their musicianship and for their dedication and their ability to do it night after night after night, but it is its own art form. So, and you know, back to that point, I do know a guy that plays the Fish House and he makes crazy money, more than most musicians I know. And he plays all over that Florida region. And so anyone can find their own space in music, and success again is about being able to do it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's not about 10 million records. It can be. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, if that's how you're trying to measure it.
Yeah.
So you just shared a story when you possibly, misjudged another individual. Has there been a moment in your career where somebody misjudged you?
Probably all the time.
Based on what they saw or what they assumed you could or could not do?
Oh, well, yeah, for sure. I remember when I was, after Belmont, after college, I did, for a few years, I think it was about 3 years, I worked at a management company just as a day-to-day management guy, which is really great because I learned all the ins and outs of the music business hands-on. I've been at Belmont, been at school, again, through a connection there, a friend I was in school with, we were in a choir together, recommended me, he was working at this company, they needed another person. So that worked out. But I knew it still wasn't what I wanted to do. I wasn't really out to just be a manager at that point. I still had this creative bug. And so around maybe a few years before that, a guy named Josh Groban had really blown up on the music scene. And that was one of the first times in my life where I was like, wait, that's me. That's me. And part of me was like, that should be me. And now I still see him like doing something like, dang it, that should have been me. He made a lot of money and a lot of records.
It's
a lot of fans, right? So many moments.
And you're kind of like,
yeah. Well, you know what's really funny in an interesting way? This is like talking about like how energy and God, the universe, can connect us to the path we're really supposed to be on. I today say, let me come back. I'm going to answer your question.
Yes.
So he pops on the scene and I really find some identity in that. And I start working with some writers here in Nashville to make a record. One of my dad's friends in business, very, very wealthy, older gentleman, had given me the money to make my first record. He believed in me and was like, I'll pay for it. You go do it. So worked with some writers here. And it was basically like Josh Groban does Christian music.
Okay.
And that was one of the first moments I was like, yes, this is who I am. And those are actually original songs written for me on that first record. But I'm singing Josh Groban stuff and Andrea Bocelli. And, you know, there's all these people start coming out in this genre called popra, which is like pop music fused with classical music. And it can be one or the other or both. So, yeah, I know that's happening. And I'm like, this is me. This is it. I leave the management job. And those few years of doing the Christian circuit, I did a lot of women's events, senior adult events, every huge church you can think of.
Sure.
Fun story. Another pivotal moment where my boss in the management company was like, hey, I want you to go deeper. I really like you. You're doing great work with us. And I want you to kind of be my right hand. But it means you're just going to do this. I'm like, dang it, here's another big decision. So I said no to it. I didn't know what was going to happen because that was the end of that job. And I didn't have anything else. And the very next day, I get a phone call from this lady. This is in like 2006 or 7. I forget exactly. I get a phone call. I'm sitting at home. What am I going to do? And it's this lady, and she's like, hello, Jason. This is Neva Pinner with the Crystal Cathedral. It's a huge Crystal Cathedral at the time was a massive church in Orange County, California. And it started in the 50s as like a drive-in church. And it became, you've probably seen it, it's a big glass church. It was on TV every weekend called The Hour of Power. It was a TV show in a church. And the TV show's still on. It's one of the longest running TV shows in history. But they would have on music guests, they'd have authors, actors, the pastor, the Schulers, they're very connected with the entertainment business. And so she's like, hey, we want you to come sing at the Crystal Cathedral and be on The Hour of Power. I was like, okay, how do you know me? And she's like, well, a good friend of yours, a lady named Ruth Graham, who was Billy Graham's daughter, had given them my CD in the summer. And this was in the fall. And she was like, if you ever need a guest, my friend Jason would be. I'd done a couple events with Ruth. She's like, he'd be perfect for your program and for the church. Of course. She's like, your friend Ruth told us about you and we have an opening in 2 weeks. Could you do it? I said yes. I fly out there. And again, you record early Sunday morning. You film all the shows film. They did like 3 services. I remember looking out 6 a.m. They sent a car and I could see the cathedral in front of me down the road. It's by Disney. I'm like, what have I got myself into? Because it's me with full orchestra on the TV show. And I'm like, I've done things before, but like, where did this come? Yeah, I'm just like, what's going on?
Live event.
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah,
it's a lot.
So I did the performance. It aired a couple weeks later. I sold, because at that time we were, pawning CDs out of our back car.
Everywhere.
And I sold more CDs after that TV show performed. I made more money in that one day than I'd made any year before.
Did it feel like, was that your breakthrough moment, you think, or no?
It was one of them for sure, because it definitely put me on a musical map. It definitely opened me up to all the conferences and events and churches that I was playing at, and brought me a manager at that time that I worked closely with. I think it was obviously a huge exclamation point of confidence of like, you're doing the right thing. Go this direction. It was also another point of like, yes, this is who you are musically. It's okay to sing like this. Yeah. Because I grew up thinking I need to be a pop singer or a rock singer. And it's like, no, I sing these big, pretty songs. I'm a crooner. I'm and then from there I got asked to be in the tenors because even from that program, this lady, Jillian Siemens, who was a tenor finder in Canada, her mom had seen me on TV. And so I got a phone call a few years later about that group. And so, it's looking back, we can connect these dots. Right. But that's not as easy in the moment to do.
No, especially when you had just given up on an opportunity that could have been very lucrative too. And you had to trust your gut and go, that's not the right thing.
Yes. And it's hard for all of us at any space we're in. I think it's sometimes even extra hard when you're like a creative and you don't know where your next dollar is going to come from. And you do have to trust those moments and lean into what I think. You lean into the divine, and you lean into your drive, and you lean into trusting the path that's there for you. Because I really believe there's a path for all of us.
Yeah.
And we can fall off of it, or we can just bow up and stop it. But I think if we trust, we can find that beautiful greatness that I mentioned earlier.
Right.
That really is uniquely for us individually.
Yeah. You've talked a little bit in other interviews in the past about like having moments in your life where you did lose connection to your creativity and your path. You almost wanted to give up creatively. Could you kind of walk us through?
You talking about yesterday? Or you talking about-
and you can talk about yesterday if you want to talk about yesterday. I've been here for a week, and last week I kind of had a little bit of a breakdown about like, is this really it? Am I actually spending all this money, all this time into this show? Is this really going to work? Like, nobody in your family's in entertainment or media. Like, you've already pivoted really far away from national security. Like, does this even make sense? Like, kind of a thing. And like, how am I ever going to find my way back or like find my purpose, which is part of the whole concept of the show, right? I'm lost and I'm trying to get found, and I want to meet people and interview people that can either help the listeners do that or help me do that. So I selfishly kind of started the show to process it for me.
Yeah.
But it's going well so far, but I'm just curious if there was ever a moment for you. Everybody's always doubting themselves, but was there a creative obstacle for you, and how did you kind of reconcile those feelings and decide, no, I'm not going to give up. I am going to stay the course?
Yeah, well, I think they happen in different chapters of life. And, when it comes to what we're talking about here, specifically with our unique arena in society, when it comes to having any sort of visual recognition attached to it, which will create in some level celebrity, I think you're constantly going to be facing the ups and downs of, am I doing the right thing? Do I need to give up? And then there will be moments where it's like a big stake gets dropped down in the road. And that could be from a financial tragedy, a life tragedy, myriad of things. But I think that is inevitable. Coupled with that, which is really the fun part, is you mentioned Lost and Found, which is really, I love that. I didn't know that. So I'm glad you said that. Really like that.
Yeah, you were like, what is she?
Oh, makes sense.
It's a cool graphic, but what about it?
But I think in the Lost and the Found, in the middle, we could think of there's the wonder.
Yes.
Or the adventure. And so as humans, we can get really focused on the lost or the found, or the I've made it or I've not made it or whatever. But life is really about the adventure and the wonder. And I think that's where the excitement and the creativity and the stories happen. And it's so good to always be reminded to just, again, trust and enjoy the adventure. And there's going to be a lot of chaos and crazy inside of that. And again, there will be big stakes at moments. And as the individual, you have to really trust your instinct, trust your past, because it's brought you to your present. And again, personally, I just, without having some sense of something bigger than me, greater than me, I don't know how I make it to my future, because I can't tell you what happens when I leave from here.
Sure.
But I trust that something greater than me, bigger than me, is going to hold my hand to get me there. And it could be something really great. It could be something really painful or hard. And the ups and downs of that adventure is what we know as the creative life. Mm-hmm. You and I have grown up in a society that has told us to, in many ways, why would you want to do that? That's crazy.
Right.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
You need to get a job. You need a steady paycheck. Mm-hmm. You need a fence around your house. You actually need to pay for this house. We're told in many facets of growing up in our own American way that this is the formula and the blueprint to a happy life. And I say, throw all that away. The happy life happens in the lost and found and in the adventure of finding my true path and what I'm meant to do and be here on this earth for. Mine just happened to be, and I'll tell you, there's been many days I wish it was not music.
Really?
For sure. I can still walk into a doctor's office sometimes and I'll be like,
yeah, I could have done it.
I could have done it. I bet he's got a big house. I bet he's got, I bet they got, boat. Right. I bet they got ABCD. I've got a cousin who is a dermatologist down in Florida, and he has a private jet.
Oh, that's a perfect place to do it.
I know. Yeah, he's
covered in the sunshine.
He's got a private jet, and I'm like, he did all right.
Oh, but the comparison,
you don't compare.
Yourself. Yeah.
And I stop myself. We all will at times.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful that I had this, because the stories and the adventure and the places I've seen and the people I've met are priceless. And, and it takes me back to that moment when I, had those few forks in the roads of, are you going to make this with the professor?
Right.
With my day job into music full time, which I didn't answer. When I first did that, those first few years of Christian music, everyone thought I was going to be Chris Tomlin when I stepped on stage. Right? Or Michael W. Smith or someone. And all of a sudden I open my mouth and it's like this big, grand, like Josh Groban style voice coming out. Right. So I was constantly, and people didn't know what to do with that.
Right.
At first, especially like people in the business, people in the audience, they loved it. But so I was constantly getting misread in those first few years of going full time into music. But again, from there to the tenors, to the moment I had to leave the tenors and step off into what is now, and then COVID, there are all these moments I can look back on over the past, 20 years of doing this thing full time, and I still wake up some days and I'm like, how do I? So I start my day in some way. I try to isolate time, and I'm always good at it. I'm a little ADD. But even if it's just coming down the steps because I slept a little late and I got to get to it, I bounce down those steps with gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this house. Thank you for this day. Thank you for opportunity. Thank you for my clients. Thank you for this podcast. Thank you.
Right.
So that I can be reminded in that moment of, don't take this for granted. It is a gift, and it is your path. I really believe that's why it happens. Am I a great vocal coach? Sure. Am I a great singer? Absolutely. Is that egotistical? Not at all. Because I've put in the hours and the work, and I'm confident in it.
Yeah.
Do I know there are people better than me? Of course. Is it about being the best? Not at all.
It's about
being me.
Can you be you, and are you happy as you?
Yes.
And if the answer is no, then you have to go deeper.
Yes. Yes. And I think just to say it, there may be someone out there listening or watching going like, that guy can't be that happy. He can't be that good. He can't be that successful. And I just say to that person, don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. I feel and think and struggle with the same things you do in my own life space. Scenarios are different, circumstances are different, but humans are humans. And I try most days to wake up and choose joy, and again, choose my path and keep walking into it. There's a million things I want to do. You too.
Right. Yeah.
I want my podcast to be, yeah, I'd love to be like Joe Rogan or Theo Vaughn, or let's go down the list. And it's like advertisers just beating at the doors. That'd be amazing.
Right. But I mean, think about it. They've been doing their shows for years. 100%. Joe Rogan's probably a decade. Like, that's why he has over 6,000 episodes or whatever it is now. It's because he's done it consistently over and over. He has a team that he's built that can help him maintain that kind of pace. And like, he got to where he got because he worked hard in lots of industries, not just
podcasting,
staying in his lane. He created his own highway. Like, I say what you want about the content, but as a businessman, I can respect that. And like the command that he has over influencing people in certain directions, like as a marketing person, because I'm in that now, that's my full-time job. But like, I can see that. I see why it works. I see why it clicks for certain things, and it makes sense. And we are nowhere close to that size. However, I do enjoy bringing different levels of people here. So like, you may not know, Justin may not have told you, but like, not every guest that comes on is famous or is like a big doctor or anything like that. Like, I brought friends on, family members on, other guests, international guests, like people that whoever wants to connect, that's willing to share those lost and found moments. Because exactly like you said, everybody has a moment of self-doubt. Everybody has those big stakes in the road that they have to pick and choose. I want to make it kind of feel like Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul
Oh, I love
meets
that.
Humans of New York. So
Yeah.
if Humans of New York had not been an Instagram channel, but rather a podcast, like that's kind of where I want it to be. It's what I want it to feel like when people are here or when they listen, because we need a safe space where people can tell their story and feel authentic, but tell something real, right? Because that's what people connect to and that's what people learn from. And that's how you get better and you kind of reconnect to yourself. You tell the story that used to mess with you, right? And you can tell in my earlier episodes too, like it took me a long time to start getting a little more confident and my voice shakes and I'm upset and it's clear I'm trying to hold back tears as I explain certain parts of my life and like build it. But you're right. Am I the best? No. Am I having fun? Yes. Am I enjoying the person I am becoming through this process? Yes. And that's why I'm going to keep going for it. But
Well, you're also committing to a dream.
yeah.
And probably a lot of the audience may not be aware of what goes into putting on a podcast like this. I didn't either until I started the Vocal Lab podcast last year and getting ready to start a second one this year, First Class Conversations. The only difference in producing a show like this and, live with Kelly
right.
is that, maybe she does it 5 days a week and she's got 100 people to help her. That's a big difference. But there's a lot of work that goes into this. And when you're not making money on it and you have to commit to that, that's a big deal. And I think that's probably the hardest thing. It's like, I really want to do this and I believe in it. And that can be your podcast. That can be your book you want to write. That can be the dream job you've always wanted to have. That can be the relationship that you're sitting there like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't know if I love her. And this is where our humanity meets us in these moments and we have to make these big decisions. I believe and think and try to make decisions in my life. Am I going to be a victim or am I going to be a victor? Those are two choices. It's the same as like, am I going to choose joy or am I going to choose sadness? All these things have their space and place in the orbit of Earth itself. But clearly, joy is the choice we want to make most days.
Right.
Get through the sadness. Be sad if someone dies or you lose your job or, something didn't materialize or someone harms you. But I'm always empowered by, in moments where I can't make a big decision, sometimes I have like decision making, like deer in headlights kind of things, and wish I was more decisive. In a weird way, I don't know why I ever did this, other than I love like World War II movies and history. I just think it fascinates me how the world came together and crushed something bad and continued to exist. And so I think of like, gosh, can you imagine being Winston Churchill? Again, a lot of people probably don't like him. Doesn't matter. He made a decision alone that changed history forever. And he had to make that decision. I'm going to send all these young men into battle and most of them may not come back.
Right.
And I'm just trying to make a decision. Do I want to keep doing this podcast and will I be a failure or, you know what I'm saying? Like that puts it all into perspective. So I try to think of moments like that. That's just one that will pop into my head. Or I think about one of my favorite stories of all time is Nelson Mandela. And, he was imprisoned for, I think, almost 25 years. And he was beat every day. And they marched him ball and chain from his little prison cell. I've been there on Robben Island in South Africa. Marched him from his prison cell out to this little courtyard with other prisoners. And the guards would beat them, urinate on them, spit on them. And they would get a big rock every day. They'd go get it. They had to walk, I think it's like several miles down to this quarry, get a big rock, carry it back, sit in this little courtyard, and with the axe and chisel, chip to gravels. And then they have to walk back and dump it and come back, all the while being tormented and tortured. For 25 years, he does this, gets out of prison through the series of events, and then becomes president of South Africa. And on Inauguration Day in front of his country, he delivers a speech on freedom and forgiveness. And guess who he invited to sit right next to him at his inauguration speech?
I would assume his prison guard.
The prison guard who beat him every day. I mean, the power in that. And so I remember these moments. If I'm having a hard time forgiving someone who's hurt me, and it doesn't mean I have to be friends with them again, but the power that pain can hold on me,
right,
or the negativity, I have to in some way work through that place of forgiveness in my own space so that I can keep walking into joy, gratitude, more forgiveness, an ability to wake up and push into the podcast or into coaching other artists who need a lot from me, or standing on a stage and just delivering a performance that can just really inspire and elevate people at every generation age. That's one thing I love about my music. It crosses generations and it inspires. This can change the world.
Yeah.
And this can help people be lost and find their found, and this is what we do together to kind of inspire and, really hopefully just help people make it through the hard days. Because again, hear me say, it is hard out there, you all people. Yeah. You know it. I know it. I'm not pretending nothing. I'm not pretending nothing.
Openly admitting like some of the next few solo episodes are going to be a little rough because it's going to be all the things I've been thinking about and holding in for a while, and I'm kind of like, all right, I got to go talk about this and this because it's been on my mind.
And that's part of the healing process.
Yes,
that's part of the finding yourself.
Yeah, no, and that's a whole other subset of the show. What do you do for your clients though? Because you have shared so much wisdom with us on this episode, and I am very grateful for that and for your honesty and your openness to this concept as well, because it's not an easy thing to talk about. For your clients that you might have that come in who are possibly struggling with their identity, maybe they are struggling with their authentic voice, or whether or not they're like, I've paid for a coach, but this is just I'm not breaking through. This doesn't. What do you say to a client that might be really struggling with that kind of stake in the ground moment?
Yeah, I mean, that's really tricky because, even in my unique space of vocal coaching, the new platform I'm starting, First Class Conversations, will be, as I told you coming in, it's like confidence and communication coaching. So that will be a little more like a life coach, but it's all built around helping someone understand and accept their person, because we all have a voice, again, literally and figuratively. How do we use it for the world? And I want to help and inspire people to use their voices for good. Anytime any of that process happens, or anytime we're going after a dream or something big, there are going to be a lot of bad fish and snakes along the way that will, in some ways, maybe abuse or pervert the process and take advantage of you, or they may just be like trying to make it and not really know what they're doing at the level you need.
Right.
Doesn't make them a bad person. There's just levels of expertise and knowledge, obviously, right? So one thing that happened during COVID was everyone kind of became a vocal coach, because all these and there were all these musicians who now didn't have jobs, especially like on Broadway, but they all were great singers. And so it's natural progression. Well, I can hop online and help people sing. There's a big difference in helping someone sing and helping an artist find their true, authentic voice. And that is where I come into, and colleagues and friends that I associate with that operate on a high level of coaching, because we go deeper and it's not about singing the song. That is a byproduct, or having a great voice or whatever, figuring this little thing out about your voice. It's really balancing the person of mind, body, soul, of the emotional, the physical, the psychological, the mental, and the spiritual, whatever that is to the person. And all of those have to be spoken into and balanced at times so that you can, again, be your most authentic, honest version of yourself, so you can do your art and move people, all that. So, there, again, to your question, it can be challenging at times when someone's had bad experiences with that and get introduced to someone like me, and then maybe they see how much I charge for that service, and they're like, or even people looking at it like, I'll just go over here because I can pay this person, this smaller
quality
amount.
Over quantity doesn't always match
at all. And, and I'm a big believer too, that I'm not here to work with every person and every singer and every artist, especially on the one-on-one. There's a deep connection that happens there between the two of us that becomes more of takes on really a role of, again, coach for sure, mentor, advisor, and therapist. There's a lot of times in sessions I'll just, I have an electric keyboard, so I'll just turn the button off and pull out the box of Kleenex. Like, what's up? Your voice is tight. What's going on? I can tell.
What are you thinking?
You walked in here. There's something wrong with you. Got in a big fight with my boyfriend last night, and I just don't want to sing the song anymore. I mean, because all this stuff finds its way there, right?
Oh yeah, it comes to the surface.
So, I guess maybe the clearest answer to what you asked was don't be defeated by bad characters or unfortunate relationships or situationships in your past. There probably was some good things that coach was trying to help you for, but now you're at a level that you need someone different. And the challenge is finding that person, of course. But It's one reason I don't really advertise my vocal services. I have, of course, all the social media stuff, I have a website, but I'm not actively spending money advertising. I firmly believe that I'm meant to work one-on-one with the people I'm supposed to work with, because there's that bigger purpose there.
Right.
I'm not just here to help them be a good singer. Part of it. And again, at the end of the day, I'm here to really help people be confident, communicate well, and be a good person. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's all really good, sage advice, even if you're not a singer. Well, Jason, this has been so much fun. I feel like we've really connected and I've learned a lot from you. Please let everybody know how they can find you if they do want to work with you in the future or they want to join your next project.
Yeah.
And learn how to do more, get better with the public speaking. Sorry, hit the microphone. Please tell everybody how they can find you and what can they do to connect with you.
Yeah, just everything is under my name, Jason Catron, Catron, rhymes with Patron tequilas. The same, just with a C. And so Instagram, YouTube, all the things, TikTok, websites. And on my website, you'll see all the 3 areas of my life, from vocal coaching to the confidence coaching to music broken down. You just click on a tab and go where you want to, and tune into the podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
All you people out there, follow our podcast.
Yes.
Keep us going over here.
Yeah. Please support. Like, subscribe, leave a review. I say it every time. Well, honestly, even if you don't want to share it with a friend, leaving the 5-star review for us always makes the biggest difference. Advertisers do look for that. So
they do.
You guys know the drill. Like, subscribe. You'll find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I will make sure all of Jason's information is added to the show notes and his website if you want to reach out to him. You can find me hello@podcastforthelost.com. Everything on my profiles is all Podcasts for the Lost, and we'll catch you next week. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.